There's nothing like snook hook sets at dawn or catching a tarpon in the moonlight. Find your next fishing trip made easy on fishingbooker.com and experience the magic of the Sunshine State or any other destination on your fishing bucket list. Book a blue water adventure in search of sailfish or go snapper fishing with the kids. With over 6,000 captains and trips to choose from, planning your next one just got a whole lot easier. Download the Fishing Booker app on the Google Play or App Store or visit them online at fishingbooker.com to book your trip today.
Maui Nui is on a mission to help balance axis deer populations for the good of our environment, communities, and food systems on the island of Maui. They've shared over 126,000 pounds of nutrient-dense protein with the Maui community. Secure your spot now. Become a snack subscriber and join in helping to build more resilient food and ecosystems on Maui. Visit MauiNuiVenison.com. That's MauiNui venison.com and use promo code BEAR for 20% off your first order.
I'm sure a lot of you guys remember the old ceremonial hunting tradition of eating the heart out of the first animal you kill. Meat from those organs are among the most nutrient-rich foods on the planet. You can get those same benefits your ancestors craved via convenient daily capsules from Heart and Soil. Find out more at heartandsoil.co. And remember, use code MeatEater for 10% off your purchase.
This episode came at me as a surprise and kind of a shocker. It wasn't planned, but after a string of emails and a flurry of phone calls, the first week of December, I found myself on a plane headed to Southeast Ohio. Our Secret Agent Man series ended a few weeks ago, and on that series, we heard about the illustrious and wild career of undercover wildlife agent R.T. Stewart in Ohio. He told us about Operation Redbud, which in the 1990s was the largest turkey poaching sting in U.S. history. You've heard about that a ton. But I learned something about telling old stories. They don't always end where you think they do. Stories continue, and they always have more than one side. That's all I can say for now. But I really doubt you're going to want to miss this one.
June 16th, 1996. A lot of good day.
Yeah.
It was almost like unbelievable.
My name is Clay Newcomb, and this is the Bear Grease Podcast, where we'll explore things forgotten but relevant, search for insight in unlikely places, and where we'll tell the story of Americans who live their lives close to the land. Presented by FHF Gear, American-made, purpose-built hunting and fishing gear that's designed to be as rugged as the places we explore. So when did you buy this place?
I'm going to guess probably a year and a half to 2 years ago, maybe.
And it was shut down?
No, it was still operating when we bought it, and but it didn't look, not even on the scale it looks like today. It was just needed updated. Like I say, we owned a pizza shop next door. So actually my father-in-law said, you know what, Claude? And he said, one of these days, you said you ought to just buy that bowling alley too. And I was like, yeah, you lost your mind too, you know. So, well, next thing you know, it came up for sale, so we bought it. And then we bought it, we shut the doors and did a big remodel. I mean, we gutted it all clear down to the bare concrete. That's what was left.
This is my first time to McConnellsville, Ohio. It's a cute town of about 1,700 people, built on the banks of the Muskingum River in the southeast part of the state. McConnellsville is also where most of the 26 men indicted in Operation Redbud lived. If you've lived in small-town America, there are certain people that stand out. They're woven into the fabric of the community and make it thrive. They're leaders, well-respected. They're contributors, and functional pillars of the community. We've just heard the voice of Claude Maxwell.
There was 10 lanes of bowling here, so we tore 3 out. So, as you see over, we got the dartboards.
Okay, you got some dartboards.
Pool table over there. You can't see it from here, and big kitchen.
So there's a restaurant here.
Yes,
Yeah.
It's a very nice restaurant back here also. So back here, there's 2 virtual golf bays, which will be, I'm sure, a big hit.
So McConnellsville is not a big town, so this is going to be like a hub for people to come to, or like a real social
I'm hoping it's going to be a big fit for the McConnellsville people. And I know there's a lot of people excited about it, because, there's nothing really here for the kids to do.
Claude is 60 years old and wears fashionable dark frame glasses. He drives a late model Chevy Silverado pickup. The back seats are folded up and the floorboard is full of DeWalt tools and construction supplies. When I open the passenger door, he scrambles to clear away work gloves and cabinet hardware still in the packaging. It's clear that Claude has worked hard for everything that he's got, and it's evident he and his family are these kind of standout people. The bowling alley and the pizza place, called Maxwell's Pizza, are side by side overlooking the river. The pizza place has a rooftop dining area that's been voted as one of the top 10 best rooftops in Ohio. Both of these businesses are being spearheaded by Claude's son, Cass, a really sharp and kind fella in his early 30s. Cass was just 4 years old on Sunday, June 16th, 1996. He thought there must have been an early morning party at their house when all the vehicles rushed into their driveway. Not to be outdone by her older brother, Claude's daughter Adrian started a cafe in downtown McConnellsville called the Bluebird Cafe. And I kid you not, they served me the best breakfast I've eaten in the last 5 years. The place is top notch. It's become overwhelmingly clear to me that these Maxwells have something special. And I haven't even told you that Claude runs a sporting goods store called Maxwell's Hunting Supplies. So we're in McConnellsville.
There's Ron.
Oh, he's introducing me to a man that we've met on the sidewalk.
So this is the guy that does the podcast for
Clay Newcomb
for RT Stewart with that, the Operation Red Bud.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so we just got done
Did you hear about that we did a podcast on that?
Yeah. Well, my boy was out in North Carolina is the one that told me about it.
Oh, is that right?
He walked me down there and he said, "Down there, I thought this just happened."
Ron is literally the first person we've met on the street as we walk towards Claude's hunting store. After a slightly awkward moment, I realized that I might not be the most popular man in McConnellsville. Not everybody was pumped about some outsider talking about Operation Redbud without hearing the full story. But I went ahead and asked Ron a pointed question. Yeah, so who do you know Claude Maxwell to be inside this community?
He's a great businessman now. I mean, what they've done in this community is outstanding. I mean, with the Bluebell and the bowling alley and the rooftop, pizza shop. It's just terrific what he's done. And I'm proud of the whole family. They're all good workers.
So, he's like a pillar in this community. Would that be right?
Well, I hate to say that. No. He really is. The whole family needs to be commended for what they've done here.
I appreciate it too. Yeah. Sorry to walk up to you on the street and just shove a mic in your face. The McConnellsville tour continues. We're now in Maxwell's Hunting Supplies. So we're walking in Maxwell's Hunting and Fishing Supplies store.
I seen you call me, Gary, but I was out there.
The store is tidy and packed wall to wall and floor to ceiling with archery targets, deer blinds, and bottles of doe estrus. Behind the counter is a wall full of guns of all kinds. The middle of the store has hunting clothing and a bow rack. And in the back of the store, you couldn't fit another jig or crankbait on the shelves.
We sell Matthews, Hoyt, and Elite.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Raven crossbows, several different crossbow companies we handle.
Big selection of fishing equipment and stuff.
Yes, and we can walk one back through
Yeah.
here, but...
Yeah, give me the full tour, man.
What I'm about to tell you won't make sense unless you've listened to our Secret Agent Man series. We worked hard in the podcast to hide the identity of the man that we called Target Number 2. This was the guy that R.T. Stewart became very close with. The guy R.T. so badly wanted to tell that he was an undercover agent because he liked him so much. Well, Claude Maxwell is Target Number 2 of Operation Redbud. If you recall, through the undercover work of R.T. and his partner, they brought charges against 26 men, and these guys were convicted of over 275 wildlife violations. But when you do the math, Claude Maxwell received exactly 26% of those violations. He pleaded guilty to 74. When I first heard about R.T. Stewart and his undercover work, I was interested in highlighting the work done by the wildlife law enforcement of this country. The freedoms that we have as hunters carry a high price tag, and part of the cost is making sure that the law is followed. RT's openness gave us insight into a hidden layer of law enforcement seldom seen, the world of undercover work. His stories were fascinating, and he was very good at what he did. However, what never occurred to me, what never crossed my mind, is how these stories intersected the lives of those that he chased. I never expected to talk to Target Number 2. To be honest with you, it was almost like he didn't exist. But oh, he does. And he's not who I thought he would be. Here's Claude Maxwell.
Well, before this started, before I met the undercover, I worked at I managed a drive-through and a bar. I worked there for probably 17 years. Met a lot of people, met a lot of great people. That was basically how I met the undercover agent, was where I worked at. He intentionally came in to meet me. I had met the undercover guy. I mean, I can remember exactly when it was. And, automatically we hit it off pretty good. Of course, I think he was probably hoping we could hit it off pretty good. But
Yeah.
we started hanging out and started hunting from there, I guess. I mean, I don't know. But like you say, that's what I'd done for 17 years.
Claude was in his early 30s in 1995. He was married and had 2 children. He worked as a bartender, and it was here that he met Bob Thomas, or at least that's what the man said his name was. But why was he here to meet Claude?
So the Ohio DNR would have had you in their crosshairs.
Yes, absolutely.
So you were killing turkeys before season, shooting
Yes.
some deer before, in and out of
Absolutely.
season.
Yep.
That's what was going on.
I sure did. I tell you, I was out hunting turkeys one morning before season, and I'd probably killed, I don't know, maybe a couple birds, I guess, before season that year. And the guy I used to work for at this bar, where his son was real good friends with the game warden's daughter at the high school. He'd come home, and I'd seen this boy every day. He'd pulled me aside one day. He said, "Hey," he said, "just to let you know that the game warden's daughter," which I'm not going to mention her name, had told me that my dad has got the radar on you. So I actually started getting nervous about that. I mean, it wasn't like I was out every day hunting, but, there was days I'd go, a few days in a row, generally a couple weeks before season come in, turkeys were gobble, and I'd be hunting them. So anyhow, one morning I was coming back, and I'd been turkey hunting. Actually, I didn't carry a gun that morning because of what this boy had told me about the game warden. Well, he definitely done had his eyes locked on me, because we was coming on County Road 3, and I looked at every vehicle that went by me. I mean, I still do today. I mean, I guess it's just a habit of, wave at people, whatever. Well, that particular morning, I had passed the game warden. There's 2 of them, and I knew the local game warden very well. And so I met him. He was in an undercover car, or it may be even a station wagon. But I remember seeing him.
Oh, so they weren't in their truck?
No.
Oh, they were in a civilian car.
That's right.
You recognized the guy.
So when I passed him, of course, I freaked out. I was like, wow, he is on to me. So I slowed down. I was actually going to work that morning. So I drove real slow all the way to town because I was positive that was him. And he knew when he seen me who I was. I was in camouflage. He knew I was probably out turkey hunting. As I was coming into Malta, which is right across the river here, this vehicle finally had caught up with me. And it was the vehicle that I've been waiting for.
You were going slow so he would follow you, or so he could catch up with you.
Yeah, so he could catch up with me.
Yeah.
So, and he did catch up with me. So I think he was kind of surprised when he made the turn to come into Malta that he sees my vehicle. And at that time, I drove a Chevy Tahoe hatchback. So he sees me. So he takes a left on the side street. Like I say, I have no weapon in my vehicle. So I take a left at the red light, and I wanted to catch up with him. But the reason he took a left because he seen me.
Yeah.
And he didn't make it look obvious. So we pulled up the side street together. He's coming one way, I'm coming the other way. So I pulls up to him. He rolls his window down. And I asked him, I said, "Are you looking for me?" And he said, "No." I said, "Well, you just out Philadelphia. I was pretty sure you were looking for me." He said, "No, I was out doing a turkey survey." We was doing turkey surveys. Well, the guy in the passenger seat, he stared a hole through me. So anyhow, pulling away from the vehicle, I seen him smack the steering wheel.
Oh, wow. He got busted.
Yeah. He knew that I knew that, he's out there looking for me.
He knew that I knew that he was out there looking for me. Though the words Operation Redbud had never been uttered, the pounding of the steering wheel was its genesis moment. Perhaps if Claude hadn't spoiled their initial plans by taking that left-hand turn, maybe the local warden would have caught him and slowed him down. And he would have been an average turkey poacher, and we'd never even know who he was. But the what might have beens are long gone, like a cottonwood leaf in the current of the Muskegum River. Fate was set into place.
You told me about meeting Bob Thomas,
Yes.
RT Stewart. Mm-hmm. And you told me about how you probably you were tipped off pretty quick that he was an undercover agent. Can you tell me about that?
Yes. Well, when I met RT, and I can even remember the exact chair he sat in when he came in the bar that day, and he ordered a Miller Lite. That's how good my memory is. So we would, just in conversation, we got to talking a little bit that day. And he was dressed in camouflage.
Right. Tipping off that he was a hunter.
Yeah, sure. So he knew, because he knew who I was, which I didn't know him. I mean, but, RT, Bob Thomas, whatever, at the time.
Now, the first time we spoke, you were calling him Bob. Yeah. I thought that was really interesting.
Well, that's what I know. I mean,
that's what you know
hung
him
out with him
as
for
Bob.
a long time, so that's what I named him as Bob. But
yeah.
Anyhow, I enjoyed being around Bob. Just that one day, I had a pretty good feel for him. He thought he was a pretty good feller. But, of course, I'm sure that looking back, I mean, of course, Bob wanted to be my friend.
Yeah.
He wanted to know me. I want to guess it was probably a few days later, RT's in the store again. A good friend of mine, Kevin, had come in the bar. We had a side door on the side of the bar. A lot of people just come in that side door, which was the stage, and then you'd come down 3 steps and you'd be in the bar. Well, Kevin had come in the door that, I want to say it was around 1 or 2 in the afternoon, and Bob or RT or whoever was sitting at the edge of at the bar there, closest to the stage. Kevin had called him RT. He said, "Hey, RT," he yelled his name a couple times. And Bob finally looks up at him and said, because I'm talking to Kevin. Bob said, "You talking to me?" And he said, "Yeah, ain't you RT Stewart?" He said, "You must have me mixed up with someone else." He said, "Well, you look like the game warden instructor down in Hocking County." Bob said, "Oh, I ain't no game warden." And, well, the drive-through bell rang. Usually when it just rang one time, I knew it was somebody walking because they just stepped on the rubber hose to make the bell ring. Kevin had left, and I thought it was probably him back there. So I went,
so he buzzed it for you to come back there.
That's right.
Wow. So your buddy is like wanting a private meeting with you.
Yes. Kevin always called me Max. When I opened the door, and he said, "Hey, Max," he said, "Do you know that guy out there at the bar?" I said, "I just met him a few days ago." He said, "Unless he's got a twin, his name's R.T. Stewart, and he's a game warden instructor in Hocking County." So he said...
And this is right at the very beginning of what became Operation Redbud.
That's right. That's exactly right.
So this guy tells you, that's R.T. Stewart, he's a game warden.
Yes. So he said, "I'd be careful who you hang out with." He said, "I could be wrong." He said, "It's been a while since I've seen him." But he said, "By God," he said, "it looks like him." So I'd even mentioned that to my wife, and she said, she was like, of course, she didn't like me going out spotlighting, shooting deer. She was not for it.
Okay.
Matter of fact, she would get ticked off if I went.
Okay.
So, and I'd always thought, it's all right, I'll be fine. Anyhow, I went back to the bar and was talking to Bob, and I said, "Oh, Kevin thinks you was a game warden." He said, "Yeah," and then he went on a big spiel about that. He said, "Game warden," he just...
Yeah.
So, that afternoon, I think it was that afternoon, Bob had showed me a turkey in the back of his van, a turkey fan that he had fanned out, and you could tell it was a fresh kill.
Yeah.
He had the spurs there, and he said he had just killed it. And I think he was trying to gain my trust a little bit, okay?
Yeah.
Of course, back then I couldn't see past my nose, because I'm like, what is the odds of a game warden here in a bar?
Like an undercover.
Yeah, I mean...
That wasn't even a thing, was it?
No, I mean, I think you probably heard about things like that, but I've never thought it would ever happen to me, of course.
Right.
When he showed me that, I was like, I kind of trust him, but I was like, I don't think maybe Kevin knows exactly what he's talking about. Well, then, right after that, Bob started wearing yellow lens glasses, sunglasses, and then he grew a full beard. Because when I first met RT, he was clean. I think he had a mustache, big mustache.
Oh.
And after that, he grew a huge beard.
So he knew he got busted from looking the same.
He knew he was going to have to change up a little bit.
It's so interesting hearing the different sides of the same story. RT told us about this one too. Claude wouldn't have known it, but RT was scrambling on the inside. But he was also learning, hence the new beard and sunglasses. In our Secret Agent Man podcast, RT told many of the ins and outs of living undercover and becoming close to Claude. They poached turkeys, spotlighted deer, and became the closest of friends. Here's a funny story.
We had shot a deer one night. Bob and Don, I don't believe, was with us that night, but we'd shot a doe, and we're down below my buddy Mike's house, and we're clear down in the woods, and cold, probably 6 or 7 inches of snow on. I mean, we were clear down in the woods, just so we wouldn't get caught. And pretty soon, Bob and Don snuck up on us. Of course, we was all good friends then, everybody knowed everybody. And he got up snuck up on us and said, "Game warden, boys." And we was freaking out because I thought it was a game warden. Well, little did we know it was a game warden. But,
Wow.
But, man, he told that story a few times, and, man, he would laugh.
Looking back, Claude says the signs were everywhere that his relationship with Bob Thomas was suspect. However, this type of undercover work was entirely new, and Claude was like a deer in the headlights, especially when the relationship came crashing down. For Claude, it was the surprise of his life, one that would change it forever.
So RT talked about how he said he was closer to you than probably he was anybody he ever worked.
Yeah.
Which was interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And part of what we talked about was, what was it like to be turned in by somebody you really thought was your friend?
Yeah, that was probably the worst thing that probably ever happened to me, to be honest with you. We hung out for a long time together, and I think basically about every day. I mean, there might have been a day or two that we didn't hang out, but for the most part, we was together, me and him and Don, a lot.
Yeah.
So when that morning, 7 o'clock in the morning, they hit everybody at 7 o'clock in the morning.
All the guys that were involved
Yes.
in the in the sting.
Yeah. Well, I remember being in bed that morning, and we'd been up late night. I guess my place was Party Central. That's where everybody come to, and we just hang out and have a good time. But anyhow, the morning that happened, I kept hearing all this pounding on my house. I thought I was dreaming. Because, you know, it's summertime, and my wife finally hits me up and said, you better look outside because you're in big trouble. That's exactly what she told me. So I jumped up out of bed. Of course, I got long hair then, and matter of fact, I had orange shorts on. Looked like I was getting ready to go to jail. So I looked outside, and I seen all these wildlife officers. And
How many trucks were there?
Wow, you know, honestly, I think there must have been, my best recollection, probably 15.
Are you 15 vehicles pulled up to your house?
Yeah, there's Crown Victorias, and there's Game Warden trucks, A1 Towing, Columbus News, Times Recorder, which is our local news.
Oh wow! So they pulled up with a tow truck to tow your vehicle away.
Yeah.
And the media was there.
Oh yeah, for
they
sure.
were going to film them pulling you out of your house.
Yes,
Wow.
and they did. Yes.
Wow. So you answer the door.
Yeah. Time I got my bearings together. What in the world? You know, I'm thinking, what's going on?
Did it even occur to you that this is because of killing turkeys illegally?
Nothing.
I mean, you're just like, what?
I'm thinking, I said, what's June 16th? I mean, it's summertime. I was like, why is all these game wardens here?
Yeah.
So I couldn't figure out exactly what was going on. And they're yelling. I mean, these people are yelling, open the door or we're busting the door in.
Yeah.
So I ran to the front door and opened the door. And when I did, they pulled me out of the door and wanted to know if I had any loaded firearms in my house. And they read my rights. And I still couldn't figure out. They didn't tell me, you know, Bob and Don or whatever.
Right.
So it almost seemed like a dream, really, looking out there and seeing all these game warden vehicles. And I think our local game warden, he was probably the second guy through my front door.
The guy you saw in the station wagon following you.
Yes. And like you say, he still comes in my store this day. I mean, I have no bitter feelings. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's doing his job.
I find Claude's ability to move beyond the past to be unusually developed. Kind of like when you watch a fisherman skilled with a knife fillet a fish. What they're doing is very difficult, but it looks easy. I'd say Claude's position is rare. Here's Claude with more.
After they read my rights, we go back inside the house, and my phone's ringing off the hook, as you can imagine. Well, back in them days, you had the answer machines. So a good buddy of mine, Mike, and we're still good buds to this day. He's probably my best friend. His wife calls me. The game wardens just left there.
Left his house?
Yeah.
Did they get him?
Yeah. But they didn't have much on him. I mean, he wasn't out with me, per se, that every day like when I was going out. But his wife was in panic mode. She said, Claude, if you're there, answer the phone. She said, the game wardens just left my house. She said, and I think they're on their way to yours. And they would not let me answer the phone.
You're hearing this message as they're arresting you.
Everybody's right there. All the game wardens right there listen to everything. Say, if you have any illegal deer meat or turkeys in, you better get them out.
Oh, wow.
Yada, yada. And I was like, really, Jenny? I said, can you shut up now? You know what I mean? But yeah, of course, she was just trying to do me a favor.
If you remember, RT told us this exact same thing from the law enforcement side. In the intro, I said that Claude's son Cass was 4 years old in 1996. Here's a story Claude loves to tell, and we're back in the bowling alley with Cass.
They all come down on me, so we're outside, and like I say, it's June, warm out, and my son had said, looked at one of the wildlife officers and said, look at that crawdad hole right there. And game warden said, I said, I don't think that's a crawdad hole.
So he was there when the wildlife officers were searching your house.
Oh, yeah.
And he was like 3 years old. 4.
So Cass said, yeah, he said, there's a crawdad in that hole there. Well, officer said, yeah, he said, I don't think there's a crawdad hole, bud. And he said, oh, yeah, it is. He determined he's going to show him. So he went and got his mom's bucket that she waters flowers in and took the spout off of it and was pouring water right into that hole. Took it and filled it clear up. Nothing come out of it yet. So he went back and fills it back up. Pours her in there again. Waits there. Pretty soon this great big crawdad comes out of this hole. It works. Oh, he jumped up and down. He said, I told you.
So this was a technique you knew would work, get the crawdads out.
Yeah, which the pond went too far. It was like, I mean, it's little ways actually.
So you remember when this happened?
Oh yeah.
So you have memories of the law coming to your house to get your
What
dad.
was going on? Yeah, I thought it was a fun day. I don't know. Yeah, I thought all these people were here. We're gonna have a good
Like,
time.
let me teach you how to catch a crawdad, big guy. Come here, man.
I didn't really realize the severity.
I didn't know Dad had so many game warden friends.
Yeah, I had a lot of friends. Yeah.
Now that's a good story. They didn't teach those game wardens about crawdads? And hey, not to digress, but Cass called it a crawdad and not a crayfish, which indicates to me that Ohio might actually be southern. Louisiana is exempt. They call them crawfish down there. And another thing, Claude called it spotlighting, not jacklighting, because nobody from the South ever called spotlighting a deer jacklighting. Ready to win Mother's Day and cement your reputation as the best gift giver in the family? Give the moms in your life an Aura digital picture frame preloaded with decades of family photos. She'll love looking back on these memories and seeing what you're up to today. Even better, with unlimited storage and an easy-to-use app, you can keep updating mom's frame with new photos, so it's the gift that keeps on giving. And this is not a joke. Juju Newcomb has an Aura frame, and we share photos, and they're incredible. Also, my mother-in-law has one. We have them. They truly are really good, really high quality. The Aura frame is easy to set up. It takes just 2 minutes to set up a frame using the Aura app. It also adjusts the display depending on light levels in the room to maintain the true color of your photos. For real, the digital screen is amazing. Right now, Aura has a great deal for Mother's Day. Listeners can save on the perfect gift by visiting auraframes.com to get $30 off plus free shipping on their best-selling frame when you use code BEAR, B-E-A-R, BEAR. That's auraframes.com. Use code BEAR at checkout to save. Terms and conditions apply. Sport Dog is the most recognized brand in the hunting dog training industry. Born in 2003 in Knoxville, Tennessee, Sport Dog was forged by a passionate group of hunters and dog trainers who intimately understood the challenges of the field and the special connection between hunters and their dogs. The people at Sport Dog know that having a well-trained hunting dog is more than just having a reliable partner. It's a commitment to their safety and unlocking their full potential. The Sport Dog promise to customers is simple: gear the way you design it. Every product Sport Dog builds is meticulously designed and rigorously tested in the field, ensuring it withstands the toughest conditions you and your dog may encounter. Trust Sport Dog, where innovation meets passion, to elevate your hunting experience and strengthen the bond with your local companion. Using tracking equipment on my squirrel and coon dogs is extremely important to me to track my squirrel dogs and my one old coon dog that's not very good. Get 20% off your first purchase using the code BEARGREASE. Go to www.sportdog.com/beargrease to learn more. I've had a Helix sleep mattress for over 2 years, and it is for sure the nicest mattress that I've ever slept on. I've slept much better in the last 2 years, been more comfortable than I have for my whole life, and that's true. The Helix lineup offers 20 unique mattresses, including the award-winning Luxe Collection, the newly released Helix Elite Collection, a mattress designed for big and tall sleepers, and even a mattress made just for kids. Take the Helix Sleep Quiz and find your perfect mattress in under 2 minutes, and your personalized mattress is shipped straight to your door free of charge. Helix has several different mattress models to choose from, each designed for specific sleep positions and feel preferences. Helix is offering 20% off all mattress orders and 2 free pillows for our listeners. Go to helixsleep.com/clay and use the code HelixPartner20. This is their best offer yet and won't last long. With Helix, better sleep starts now. Let's talk about something that matters. And I'll tell you what matters is wives. Wives usually have a strong intuition, especially when it comes to their husband's friends. If you want to talk about wit and instinct, a wife is often like a lightning rod for this kind of stuff. But Oddly, Misty has always really liked Brent Reeves. Anyway, here's Claude talking about how he still didn't really know why the law was at his house.
And even then, I'm racking my brain. It's like, I don't know what's going on. I mean, no one's really told me anything. So I go outside, and they're at my house for hours. At that time, I was remodeling my house, just doing a little remodeling. I mean, I didn't have any money. I was just trying to make my place look a little nicer than what it was. So when my wife had come outside, when I was sitting on I think had a bench out there in front of my porch here, I was sitting on it. I was bummed, as you can imagine. And,
Did they have you handcuffed or anything?
No. Mm-mm.
So they knew you weren't going to run off.
No, I mean,
They had you.
yeah, of course. I don't know what they had me for because I didn't know.
And they're searching your house.
Oh, yeah. They're tearing it apart. I mean, every inch of her. So my wife comes out the front door, and she whispered in my ear, and she said, "Bob and Don, I bet you." And I looked at her like she was crazy. I said, "No." She said, "I bet it is." She said, "You thought you guys were friends." So I got thinking.
So she sniffed it out.
Yeah, which, she never did. Even when it was going on, she was always, because RT would call me quite a bit. And I think if he was really being honest with himself, he could tell you that Bob would call me a lot. Say, "Hey, you want to go out tonight?" And it would really tick my wife off. She was like, "Claude, you're going to get yourself in trouble."
Wives know. They just always know.
So I guess when that all happened, when I finally did figure out, I think one of the officers, he handed me all my charges, all these papers. I'm like, huh? Them are all mine, huh? Because there was a bunch.
How did it read? It was just
on the front of it, it was all written up from the court.
Yeah.
Saying all these charges. And it was just like pages and pages of it. It looked like a catalog, you know what I mean? And I said, I looked at him, I said, "Them's all mine?" He said, "Yep, them's all yours." And then the one officer asked me if I knew a Bob Thomas. So when he said that, I was like, okay. That was my friend that just got me right there.
This was a tough moment for Claude. I don't know that I'll ever know, or at least I hope I never do, what it feels like for someone you thought was your friend to actually not be. And what makes this so wildly interesting is that RT, even 30 years later, still has mixed feelings about it. And we know we can't blame RT. He was just doing his job. He was defending the law. I just think it's interesting to look at it from the other side. And this goes back to our original commentary on what a weird human experience and experiment that undercover work is.
And at that time when that happened, like say I'm early 30s, and I just felt like someone kicked me right in the teeth. I mean, kicked the legs right out from under me. So here this guy that I thought was my friend, that we did a lot together and had a lot of fun together.
And had it's hard to say a real friendship, but you said to me earlier that you can't fake the kind of...
Oh, absolutely not. I mean...
And I feel like that's what RT told me when I sat across from him.
Yeah.
Is he said, Claude was a good guy. He said, any other situation, we probably would have been really best friends.
Yeah. We had a lot of fun together. I mean, we really did. I mean, just like I say, there's just some stuff you can't fake. I mean, there's times that I can remember even looking back, RT would, he'd be laughing so hard, tears be coming out of his eyes. I mean, that was on a lot of different occasions.
Yeah.
Getting back to that question, I was so depressed to think that happened to me. It's like I couldn't get over it for a long time to think that he'd done that to me. And I almost wanted revenge, And, but, he was doing his job. That's what he gets paid to do. That's how I look at it now, looking back at it. I mean, he's there to do his job, and he did his job. But for me, it was not real. I mean, that actually happened to me. I mean, you can ask my wife, and that them times for first 2 or 3 weeks, I didn't want to be here. I didn't, I just didn't. I was in a real bad place.
It was a dark time for you told me.
It was. Yeah, and then I just didn't know if I could pull out of it. I mean, it's for the audience that's listening right now, unless you're there, you can't have that feeling unless it's actually happened to you. But with that said, I brought it all on myself. It wasn't like anybody twisted my arm to make me do what I done.
From the very beginning, I appreciated Claude's honesty about this whole situation, but also how he takes full responsibility for it. You'll never hear him blame anyone else, and that's rare. Human nature in its wild pursuit to justify its own action often relieves its burden by shifting blame, but not Claude Maxwell. You remember me saying I wasn't the most popular guy in McConnellsville after bringing Operation Redbud to the national stage after 30 years of it being not there. I'm pretty sure much of the town believes that this sting was heavy-handed, that in parts of the operation these guys were entrapped. I'm just reporting what I heard on the streets of McConnellsville, not from Claude. But even if it was heavy-handed, the operation was valuable. Let me cast a metaphor into the river of your mind. To the caribou herd as a whole, the lone animal that gets eaten by the wolf is lost, but impacts them more than the living. Its death changes the life of the whole herd. They adapt, they reroute, they become stronger. The wolf makes the caribou strong. In this metaphor, the undercover work is the wolf, and by picking some of the stragglers off, in a sense, it purifies and strengthens the whole herd, which the whole herd would be the hunting community. Though you and me weren't suspects in Operation Redbud, it has impacted our life. If you're a hunter, the herd knows. Are you with me? This type of law enforcement is necessary for our system of wildlife management to be successful. And we'll see that getting caught by the wolf can change your life for the better.
Isaac, that was probably way too deep of a metaphor. I don't know if people are going to get it.
Oh, we're recording. Here's Claude.
What were you actually charged for, and what was the punishment for it?
Well,
and I know you can't cite all 74 wildlife violations.
Yes, that's how many I had, 74. I think most of the fines and citations I got, out of 74 of them, a lot of them were, you might have been hunting without hunter orange, or maybe, I'm just trying to think of some of the crazy charges that I had, that they wasn't serious charges.
Okay, I see.
You know what I'm saying?
They were trying to get you for every single possible thing.
Yeah, and I think they did.
How many actual convictions of killing illegal game of the 74?
I used to have that big pamphlet. I think I threw it away because I wanted to wish every memory away of that day. I think I had got charged for killing 7 turkeys, or maybe 8 turkeys.
Okay.
And 7 or 8 deer in that 18 months or whatever it was that we hung out.
So did you go to jail?
Well, no. I remember being in court.
So they didn't, with 15 wildlife officers there, or 15 vehicles, they didn't handcuff you and take you to jail?
No.
Okay.
Now, if I hadn't cooperated, yes, I'd have been on my way to jail.
So it was mainly fines, and then they revoked your Ohio hunting license for life?
Yes. Yeah.
How much in fines can I ask you that? How much in fines did you have to pay?
$11,000.
$11,000.
Yeah. Actually, crazy as this is, when I'd hired this attorney out of Lancaster, Ohio. But anyhow, he come down and represented me. And basically, we're just going to do a plea bargain. Okay, I'm guilty of this many charges. I think I was guilty of like 70 of them, probably. I mean, I was guilty of all of them. Everything that RT honestly got me for, I was guilty of.
Even back then, that was your position. Just like, I'm guilty. I'm just going to do the time.
Basically, because my attorney had looked over the films and things. He said, boy, they really got you, Claude. And then I said, well, I know that. So all we can do right now is go to court and make the best of it. I'm trying to think. They gave me this big fine, and he turns to me and whispered in my ear. He said, he's going to give me 6 months in jail and $11,000 fine. So he whispered down my ear and he said, that's not too bad, Claude. He said, if I was you, I'd take that plea. I said, I'm not doing 6 months in jail. He looks at me and said, really? I said, yeah, really. So he gets up and says, he makes a plea to the court, and said, Claude's got 2 little kids. Can you show you some leniency? So the judge thinks about it for a second and comes back and said, yeah, they're going to give me 6 months house arrest. So I got to wear a leg bracelet for 6 months.
Was that a stiff enough penalty, do you think? Like if you were just looking at this from the outside, you knew what you were doing and like in your life what would have, because I mean all these punitive penalties that the court systems would enact would ultimately be designed to get people on the right track. I mean, say whatever somebody want. I mean, was it stiff enough? Was it too stiff? What do you think?
Looking back, I thought it was almost too stiff. And let me tell you why. Because I wasn't making no money whatsoever then. I mean,
right.
I was at bar
11,000 might as well have been 100,000.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I was like, how in the world am I ever going to pay $11,000 fine off? I mean, I don't have that kind of money. I didn't then.
Was that helpful to you in the process of being reformed?
I think it was. I mean,
because and I'm not saying this to talk specifically about you, but people all over the country talk about how wildlife violators get off too easy.
Yeah.
I mean, really, like some of the stuff going on, because it's not narcotics or some kind of abuse, like human abuse or violence or when these things go to court, a lot of times judges have compassion on this guy or leniency.
Yeah.
And then, but in the wildlife space, it can upset people.
Yeah,
because as a culture, we value wildlife. And we value being able to go and hunt. And we have this thing in North America that's really unique to the world, and that guys like me and you can go hunt deer and hunt turkey. And I mean, this is
awesome.
unusual.
Yes.
What do you think about that? I mean, do you think judges should do what they did to you?
Yeah. I mean, listen, I probably had everything that come to me is, what I got, I had coming to me. I probably needed to stop. I mean, I don't want to say out of control. It was not right by no means. And so what I got coming to me. And with RT, he did his job, him and Don did. I'm not saying that he shouldn't have done what he done, because that's what he was there to do.
On this side, it's easy to say the poachers got what they deserved and leave feeling good about the steaming hot plate of justice they got served, which is an entirely justifiable position that most of us have almost all the time. And I'm not trying to make us soft on criminals and act like they're the victims, but what I am saying is that every situation has two sides worth thinking about. I want to ask Claude about re-entering his life after the conviction.
You felt just kind of the social shame of what happened. I mean, you were embarrassed by it. You were like, what were the feelings going on?
Yeah, I mean, I was, because people, like say the people that didn't know me, it was about to find out the things that I'd done. So, majority of those people that I worked around had no clue, spotlighting, turkey hunting, and whatever. But even then, when I was doing it, I never even really thought it was that big a deal, I guess. Now today, I mean, looking back, it was a big deal. I mean, you're breaking the law. I mean, that's just, it's not the sportsman thing to do.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was really hard going back to work. I didn't want to go back to work. I wanted to quit because I didn't want to see nobody. I didn't want to be around nobody because I knew what was going to take place. I mean, it never ended for months. People wanting to know the story and people criticizing me for what I'd done. And then there's people that, that stood beside me too, You got to have a little bit of support when something like that happens to you. It was bad times, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
It was.
How did you recover from it? I mean, because really, your story is so unusual that you would be in that position when you're 30, and then now you're 60. And like I said, I mean, I feel like I'm sitting across from an intact man.
Yeah.
I mean, and not just because of your business success. That's not what I'm talking about. Just your family's intact. Yeah. And I don't know your sons well, but I've met one of them, and it's
he's
unusual.
Great kid. I mean, I honestly think if I hadn't had a family then, my wife was really supportive of me, and she always has been, probably the greatest woman I know. But yeah, so having a big family like I had, just my brothers and sisters, and just for my family, and then not to mention Heidi's family. I mean, all of her family were super close. You know,
they all supported you through this.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
They didn't disown you.
No. I remember her dad telling me one day, I think it might have been 2 or 3 days after it all come down, but I remember being on the couch. I don't think I got off the couch for a week. I mean, I was that bummed. I mean, I just didn't want to talk to nobody. Well, he'd come out, and I had just told his son this story the other day, but I said I can remember being really depressed. So the good guy that her dad is, he tried to make things better for me. He said, well, Claude, he said, you know, you're only up from here. You can only go up from here. He said, you got to pull yourself together and make the best of it. He said, we all love you. He said, you know, just you made a few mistakes, and ain't we all? I might have said, yeah, or whatever. But I didn't want to talk to nobody. And as you can imagine how many times my phone would ring a day. People wanting to know, or I just never took a phone call. But I knew at some point, you know, I'm going to have to go back to work. And if it wasn't for the fact of having a wife and a 4-year-old son, and then my daughter Adrian, she was just born, I probably wouldn't have went back to work. I probably would have quit and started a new life somewhere, or maybe wouldn't even made it that far. You know what I mean? Because I was not in a good place then.
By every indicator possible to gauge a human, Claude was at the very bottom. But as painful as it is to be there, Claude's father-in-law was right. The only place to go is up. And being at the bottom is often necessary to get people going in the right direction. The bottom isn't always bad. Part of Claude's conviction was a lifetime suspension of his Ohio hunting license. That's a hard slap for a man whose blood runs thick with the love of wild places and beasts. Even being someone who was abusing the law, he was fueled by the same mysterious draft that has caught so many of us. After 7 years, Claude was advised to go to the county judge and ask for the punishment to be revisited. And to his surprise, the paperwork on the revocation of his license was never completed, and he was actually eligible to buy his Ohio license.
Anyhow, he told me you're good to go get your license.
Wow.
Which I don't think at the time our local game warden was very happy about that.
Yeah.
But from that day on, I did things right. I got to get myself on the right track here.
Yeah.
And because, you know, even taking my son hunting and stuff, you know, I took my son hunting a lot. I tried to teach him right. And he does things right, you know what I mean? He's a good kid. But anyhow, yeah.
That's a big transition. I mean, you kind of make it sound simple. And I realize it wasn't
really simple. Let's be honest. I mean, even when I did get my license back, I said, man, I sure miss them days of just going out there having fun. But I knew better, you know, and I never did. I never went out early turkey hunting, early deer hunting, nothing, squirrel hunting. I mean, from that day on, I just, you know, I went by the rules. That's just how, you know, if it's one turkey season, that's what I killed, one turkey. And if it's one deer, it's one deer. It's just looking back of how I was then. I mean, I was a little out of control. But it feels good to be on the right path. I mean, it's way better. You know, it makes you a better person.
Yeah,
it really does.
Well, it sounds like it was a broader. And I'm speculating, but I'm speculating off pretty hard evidence that I have of not knowing you well, but seeing what you've done inside this community and just talking with you here face to face. Is that, I mean, it sounds like your life took a turn for the better in a whole lot of places.
Yeah.
I mean, because somebody that's partying and wild and disregarding game laws is not going to be able to do what you've done, because you have a very successful outdoor store here in McConnellsville. You opened up this bowling alley. You've got multiple. I mean, you're a successful guy. And when I meet your family is intact, which in today's world is a big deal.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, to have kids that respect you
I have a great family. I'm very fortunate.
I mean, it sounds like a lot changed probably from those days. Am I right?
Oh, yeah, it has. I mean, it's a lot has changed, which is really hard to believe that even looking back that on my life, how much things have changed for me. I mean, I think when you do right, people will notice it. We do a lot for our community. I mean, we really do. I say no to nobody, you know what I mean? If someone comes in and wants a donation for whatever it might be, it might be a family member sick, or we just help out. We do. I mean, that's what we are. But quite a far cry from what I used to be. Not that I never looked at myself as a horrible person. You know what I mean? When I was growing up. I mean, I had a great family. When I had 8 brothers and sisters, And
where are you at in the birth order?
Next to the youngest.
Next to the youngest.
Yeah. Yeah, my mom and dad were great people, all my brothers and sisters. I mean, and we're all tight-knit. I mean, of course, none of my family looked down on me from what I had done. I mean, because, blood's thicker than water. But, they realized I done wrong. I was in a good place in my world at that time.
Yeah.
Especially after 1996, when the Thursday of June 16th, 1996. Not a good day.
Yeah.
That's when all the ODNR was at my house. It was almost like unbelievable.
Man, you've gained my respect in that you were willing to talk to me. I mean, I think it takes a lot of guts for you just to even just talk about it, which you didn't ask for anybody to bring this all back up.
Right.
Right. And you didn't ask for me to come up here and talk to you. I asked.
Yeah, I was listening to your podcast with RT, and then that's and that's when.
So somebody sent you the Bear Grease podcast and said, Claude, you got to listen to this.
Yes.
What did you think when you heard us talking about Operation Redbud?
Well, I was set back a minute. I ain't gonna lie. I was like, dang. I said, been that many years, and they're still talking about me. And I thought.
Were you relieved when we bleeped your name out?
I was. I mean, yeah. Because there wasn't really no need in using my name, I guess.
Sure.
I mean, I think.
It wasn't yeah.
I think everybody knows anything about Operation Redbud, knows who was involved
regionally, and that's what I found out. Again, this is new stuff to me just in the last couple of months. I would have never heard of this. I think regionally, Operation Redbud is real well known.
Oh yeah,
but
sure.
Nationally, maybe not. And I shared this with you privately. Is that when I did this, like I never really thought about the repercussions of it, and that's part of the reason I wanted to come to you today. Because, I mean, you're the guy we were talking about. Yeah, we bleeped out your name, but still part of the story.
Yeah, sure.
Was you. Mm-hmm. And then it never occurred to me that, because really we were trying to highlight like wildlife agents and law enforcement, and so for that I guess I in a way apologize to. I'm not upset that I did the story. I mean I'm not.
Oh, no, and
but it probably brought something into your life that you weren't asking for by people coming and saying, "Hey, look at this."
I was a little hesitant to do this podcast today. I mean, my son's one said, "No, Dad, you need to do it. You need to just do it." He said, "I think it'll do you some good." And even last night, I was kind of up and down all night thinking about it and of maybe what to say or even how to say it, I guess. But I don't know. Honestly, I think it's made me a better person. I mean, not this podcast, but just a better person than what I used to be. I mean, heck, who knows if this hadn't happened to me 30 years ago, who knows where I'd be.
It was almost unbelievable, Claude said. You get the feeling that it's hard for him to look back and believe that this actually happened, especially when you look at how successful his life has been since then. This story is about the stereotypes that we all have at different times about people that are sometimes just wrong. It's a story of how people can change and be different. It's a story about how some actions don't always lead to the outcomes we think they will. But at its core, at a more philosophical level, I think this story is about repentance and forgiveness. These words are fundamental to the human experience. Repentance is ultimately taking responsibility for your actions and making changes so the bad stuff doesn't happen again. Forgiveness is in essence forgetting an offense. Humans crave these things. We want people who've done wrong to be sorry, and punitive justice can be part of that repentance. And when we do wrong, we deeply want people to forgive us. When I was in my early 20s, I had a moment of clarity of what forgiveness was. I had had a wretched nightmare, one of those where you've done something terrible and unbearable stress is caving in around you. In the dream, I had stolen a car and was running from the police. I deeply regretted what I'd done, but it was too late. I couldn't undo it. The tension of the dream grew to such height that my resting state was unable to contain it, and I awoke in a burst of consciousness. The feelings of regret and consequence lingered into reality until after a few moments of looking around, I realized that I was in my bed. I actually hadn't stolen the car. It was only a dream. A gush of relief poured over me like cool water. I felt as if my life had restarted. In that moment, a thought walked across my mind that I would never forget. And the thought was, this is what true forgiveness is like. It's like a dream that never actually happened. It was powerful. And the implication of that was, what if I could deliver that kind of forgiveness to the people in my life who'd done me wrong? And what if I could receive that kind of forgiveness for the stuff and the people that I had wronged? As humans, we have a powerful tool at our disposal that apes and mules don't have the luxurious option of dispensing or receiving. And that tool is a choice that we have to extend a functional forgiveness to others and to receive forgiveness. I think our society could use a refresher on how to use the powerful human tools of repentance and forgiveness rather than living with bitterness and shame. That's not being soft on crime. That's being strong on cure. I'd like to extend a genuine bear grease hat tip to Claude Maxwell and to R.T. Stewart. It took a lot of guts for both of these guys to tell their story. I can't thank you enough for listening to Bear Grease. We're putting all we have into these stories, and I deeply value every person that I have the opportunity to interview. And I deeply value every one of you guys that engage so deeply into these stories. I thank you for your support of our podcast. And you can help us by sharing this podcast with your family and friends and leaving us a review on iTunes. And you can follow me on social media at Clay_Newcomb. Instagram is my main platform, but I'm also on the TikTok with all the kids, hipsters, and data snatchers. Maybe they'll snatch up this story. Who knows? Have a great week, and I look forward to discussing this story with everybody on next week's Render. Oh! 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 Oh!
I'm sure a lot of you guys remember the old ceremonial hunting tradition of eating the heart out of the first animal you kill. Meat from those organs are among the most nutrient-rich foods on the planet. You can get those same benefits your ancestors craved via convenient daily capsules from Heart and Soil. Find out more at heartandsoil.co. And remember, use code MeatEater for 10% off your purchase.
Outdoor adventure won't wait for engine problems. Things like hard starts, rough performance, and lost fuel economy are often caused by fuel gum and varnish buildup. Seafoam can help your engine run better and last longer. Simply pour a can in your gas tank. Hunters and anglers rely on Seafoam to keep their engines running the way it should the entire season. Pick up a can of Seafoam today at your local auto parts store or visit seafoamworks.com to learn more.